Welcome to episode 1 of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial 2024 edition. First time we've got first-year head coach Blaine McCorkle with us. And Coach, 2 weeks into your Northwestern State career, does it still feel like a honeymoon?
No, no, we're full speed ahead and we're working now. It's been great though. I mean, this 9.5, almost 10 months now that we've been here has been exactly what I hoped it would be in terms of just support, excitement, the community. Campus has been great and welcoming, but we are 2 weeks into it now, going into game 3. So we're full speed ahead and trying to get the job done. So all those things have been nice and fun, but now we got to start putting some wins up there.
Very close to doing that in your first home game Saturday night, 37-31 loss to Prairie View, which came down to, as we were talking before we filmed this, the ultimate matter of inches in that game where you went from your 1 yard line to inside their 1. We'll get to the game itself, but the atmosphere there, I mean, you talked about coaching your first game in Turpin Stadium. What was that like from your standpoint in terms of the atmosphere? Not necessarily the final result, but the atmosphere and everything kind of leading into that game.
Well, I think it was everything I hoped it would be. You know, I was really excited and anxious to see what Turpin Stadium looked like on game day. I've been to a lot of places in FCS football, but this is one that I haven't been to. So I was excited to see it, and from start to finish, it was everything that I hoped it would be. You know, from the time we took the Demon Walk before the game, through the tailgaters and the crowd and the excitement, the noise. The pregame atmosphere was just, the tailgating scene was just magnificent, as good as you can find at this level. And then we had a great crowd. I think that was our biggest crowd since the first game after COVID, if you go back and look to 2021. So just a great atmosphere. The band was great, and the fans were into it all the way to the last second. You know, you watch the film of that last play, and there's people lined up around the end zone ready to rush the field if we got it done. And it felt like college football, and I was excited for our kids to experience that. And hopefully next time we'll put that thing on the other side and get a W out of it and take that atmosphere just one step farther.
Yeah, I was hoping to talk to you post-game on the 25-yard line. Instead, we're getting to talk here, which is a good thing. But we talked about also within a loss, yes, it'll go down as a loss. But within a loss, you can pull out individual team victories. I think you probably had plenty of that to pull from this week.
Yeah, well, I think you either lose or you learn. You can decide what you want to do with it, and I think we learned a lot this past Saturday night against Prairie View A&M about just how hard you have to play and how long you have to play that hard to win and how disciplined you have to be. So I was very proud of our players and very excited about the fact that we got it down to the last play, even an extra play, an untimed down, to give ourselves a chance to win. But we didn't do enough things over the course of the game to really earn the right to win the game. You know, at the end of the day, you look at it, we had 9 penalties for 60-plus yards, and I think 6 drop passes. That's a lot of hidden yardage in there that we weren't able to recoup. Yardage turns into points. We all know that. So, but just the fact that our kids fought and played hard, they did give themselves a chance. So if we can start putting all those things together from a discipline standpoint, but continue to play with the effort and intensity and passion that we did, there's good things coming down the road.
You talked about it post-game, but for those who didn't get a chance to see it, go back to March, of all things. Yes, March.
Yeah.
We're talking football in March. You had a vision for what the first play of the Blaine McCorkle era in Turpin Stadium would look like.
Yeah.
Even in your dreams, did you draw it up exactly like it happened with the pass to Miles Kitten?
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I tell my players all the time, if I'm nothing else, I'm a bit of a dreamer. I like to picture big things, because if you can't see yourself doing great things, you're never going to do them. You know, if you don't believe it yourself, it's just not going to happen. You know, and I usually go for a run at lunch, and there's a lot of times, especially during the season, if I go run or whatever at lunch, I kind of call the game while I'm running. I kind of see it happen and see, okay, if this happens, we're going to do this and whatever. And I remember I was out for a run here on campus, going down the Chaplin's Lake there, and just thinking about, all right, what I want the first play in Turpin Stadium to look like. And that's a play that's in our offense. It's an easy play action, take a shot. And Miles is the fastest guy we got. So I remember telling him during spring practice, hey, first play in Turpin Stadium, we're going to throw one up and see what happens. And he and JT have been talking about it all summer, and our offense has kind of known that once we got to that first play, and it worked out perfect. I told JT the night before, I said, I bet you can't overthrow it. And that was kind of my dare. And he took the challenge, and he threw it as far as he could. And Miles, he's the fastest guy we got. He went and got it, and what a great way to start off the night. And the crowd was pretty electric after that, so that was pretty fun.
You were a deep snapper, but you've been an offensive line coach. You've been kind of an offensive guy your whole career. 2 opening drives this year, a 75-yard touchdown run on play 2 at Tulsa, a 71-yard touchdown pass on the first play. what's left on the opening drives? I mean, check and check.
Well, I'd like to see us sustain a drive is what I'd like to see us do, and take 8, 10, 12 plays and go down there and punch one in and sustain some things. And yeah, we've shown the ability. Kenneth Lacey had the long run again, the second play for offense in the second half the other day. So we've shown the ability to make some good plays, but what we've got to do is show the ability to sustain some drives and stack some first downs together, and that's kind of the next step in our offense, is to do those things and just be more consistent throughout the course of a game. But yeah, those things are exciting, they're fun, and hopefully we can start off that way every week. We're all for it.
Let's go back to Tulsa. We didn't do a show last week because of Labor Day, so we're a little bit behind getting into that. But when you looked at the Tulsa game, we talked about it up there. I mean, it's 14-14 after a quarter. It's 14-14 in the fourth quarter. The middle two is kind of that FCS, FBS gap where attrition gets to you a little bit. But when you go back to that first game, again, a situation where your guys had to make you feel like one of the prouder guys in FCS football.
Yeah, I was really proud of the effort at Tulsa. The first two games I've been really proud of the effort. I think none of us really knew what to expect at Tulsa. We've really got, for the most part, a brand new team. Over half of our team was not on the roster last year because of circumstance and whatever. So it was really hard to know what to expect. I think we went in that game with 3, maybe 4 guys who had ever started a game at Northwestern State. So it was a brand new team. And the effort and the intensity and the focus they had, the discipline they had in that first game, I was really, really proud of what they did. And they stayed together and they played all the way till the end against a bigger opponent. Even when the score separated, they kept fighting and they kept having good energy. So there was a lot to be proud of there for sure.
We'll go to week 2 now. Before we get into week 3, one thing that came out Monday this week, Blake Gocher.
Yeah.
23 tackles and now a Southland Conference Defensive Player of the Year. That's a young man that came in and was named captain right away as a transfer, something you don't always see your other two transfers, your other two captains, Chance Newman and Cadillac Roner, guys who have been here and kind of have established a time here in Natchitoches. Blake Gocher comes in and within 3 months as a team captain, and his production on the field through the first 2 games, 34 tackles, is pretty heady stuff. Yeah,
34 tackles in 2 games is nothing to laugh at for sure. That's pretty impressive. And Blake's a guy that he transferred in here in the winter, not long after we got here, and was kind of quiet, just came in and went to work, and came from Lamar, another school in our conference. They had a coaching change a year ago, and he wanted to be somewhere I think he fit personality-wise a little bit better. And he just quietly went to work and had a good spring. And you're right, for a guy to be named captain that quickly into his tenure at a place speaks volume about who he is and how people view him and the respect he has of his teammates. And he's backed it up with his work on the field. He's not a real vocal guy. He's not a rah-rah guy. He just works and studies the game and does what he's coached to do and does it to the best of his ability. And the performance he had this past Saturday night in Turpin Stadium was remarkable. And be interested to see how long he can keep that pace up. I'm all for it.
It's amazing. Patrick Netherton was talking during the broadcast looking for the tackle record. It's 33, by the way, in case you're wondering.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Gordon Bogart's back in 1973. So a lot of running, a lot more running in those days.
Yeah, tell Bogart I need to see the film on that one. That's a lot of tackles.
But third guy in the last decade to get to 20 tackles in a game, that's special. He's well deserving of the Player of the Week honor from the Southland Conference. Also honorable mention, National Defensive Player of the Week from Stats FCS Perform. As we turn our attention to South Alabama, it's a short turnaround. It's a 5-day, Saturday to Thursday. What's that like, compacting 7 days into 5?
Well, you got to work fast. You got to work some long hours, that's for sure. And the one thing that it doesn't allow you to do is spend as much time studying the previous game as normally you would like to. There's usually a whole list of things that we break down, study, self-scout, if you will, and we'll do that in time, but we really had to just kind of get our grades, get our numbers, and move on. So when we came in yesterday, Sunday morning after a game, staff comes in at 1. I'm always going to give everybody an opportunity to go to church, have some time with their family, do what they need to do on Sunday morning. And when we came in at 1, there was really no talk of Prairie View other than a quick 5-minute recap as a staff, and then it was straight to South Alabama. It's been that ever since. So Sunday, in theory, is Tuesday. Monday's Wednesday, and then you have Tuesday's your Thursday, and you get on a bus Wednesday morning. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, get on a bus is a fast turnaround, especially when you're playing an FBS opponent who has got a little bit more depth, a little bit more size, a little bit more speed, a little more athletic than you normally would play. So the idea with that is we've got to be really simple, really sound, get our kids fresh and ready to play, and go see what happens.
When you look towards South Alabama, what do you see aside from a guy across the field who was from where you went to college? Major Applewhite, now coaching there at South Alabama from Baton Rouge. You guys were in college at the same time, different schools clearly, but what do you see from Applewhite and the Jaguars?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I've known Major since we were in college. Not well, we're not best buddies or anything, but we were acquaintances. Kind of ran in some same groups a couple times when he would come back in town in college. So definitely, I knew him a little bit back in the day, and obviously he was a heck of a player at Texas and a lot of fun to watch. And he's had a great coaching career. But they do a lot of really good things. Offensively. We've got to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. They played 2 games and 2 different quarterbacks. The first kid, the first week, Gio, is number 7, really, really talented, really, really gifted. Then they played the other kid against Ohio this week, and he's no slouch either. So it's really, you got to find out early who's going to be the quarterback. I think the first kid, number 7, Gio, had an injury, maybe a toe, something like that put him back. So we'll have to figure out who's going to be in the game and how does that dictate what they do. I think, what we expect from them, I don't expect them to put a whole lot of eggs in this basket as well. This was a Thursday night game. They requested it be a Thursday night game because they play Appalachia State the following week on Thursday, and to them that's a really big game. So we can kind of read the tea leaves as to how they probably perceive this game, and that's okay. So they're going to be good. They're going to be disciplined. He's a great football coach. They're going to do a lot of things that give you some headaches on both sides of the ball, but they're a good football team. Defensively, they're big, physical, and fast. They are that. Very similar to Tulsa in athleticism, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more physical. So we definitely got our work cut out for us.
We know you like to have a lot of fun with Patrick Netherton. We like to have a lot of fun with Patrick too. And food is a big thing we've talked about. I know you guys don't go in, football is pretty much in and out. You're not really too worried about it, but have you talked to Cade Camp, your offensive line coach, who was a GA at South Alabama, about anything down there about Mobile? Or, you're kind of, you've kind of got that I-10 Baton Rouge to Pensacola thing from a lot of your life. So, I guess it's kind of almost like coming home for you.
Yeah, well, Coach Camp was a graduate assistant at South Alabama, as you mentioned, and he is an offensive lineman at heart, and he coaches our offensive lineman. He was a great offensive lineman in this conference. He was an all-conference, all-Southland Conference offensive lineman himself. So he knows where the food is, and he knows the spots in Mobile for sure. And I know he's excited to go back there and go to his old stomping grounds a little bit. But you're right, I graduated from high school in Pensacola, and then I went to college in Baton Rouge, so that's right there in the middle. And then over the years, I've recruited Mobile a lot. When we were at Belhaven, Coach Connor, who we'll hear from a little bit later in the segment, I think he spent about 8 or 9 years recruiting Mobile himself. That was always a really, really good area for us. So we know the spots. There's a second Dreamland down there. Foosackly's is big, people like that. I'm okay with it. But there's some spots to eat down there, and but we're not going down there to eat. We'll do that later. We're going down there to try to win a football game, and hopefully the post-game meal will be pretty good. I'm sure it will.
Should be mentioned too, two other demons from Mobile. Lander Huddleston, directly from Mobile. Chance Newman from Daphne, right across the bay, I guess that is.
Yep.
So I know they're looking forward to going home too.
No doubt. I know those guys are excited to play, and should be fun for both of them, and should be some interesting weather. I know we got a hurricane coming in, so hopefully that doesn't hurt the crowd too much. But I think it'll be a great atmosphere and a great night to play, and I know those guys will be excited, and we all will.
Well, Coach, thank you for taking your time. Very short week for working this in there, and we'll be back with defensive coordinator Matt Connor when we return on the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, joined now by Northwestern State Defensive Coordinator Matt Connor. Coach, welcome to the Demon Huddle, your first time here. New to Natchitoches, as most of the staff is. How the first couple months been for you?
It's been good. I appreciate you having me on. First couple months has been awesome. It's been a whirlwind. When you get in, when we got in, you really don't have time to sit back and enjoy it. You just kind of go to work, put your head down, and count on your wife a lot to get everything moved and all that stuff situated as we get ready to go to work. But it's been really, really good.
Something that I think gets lost in that, you just hit on it. The families. You've been pretty lucky to be stable at Belhaven for 7 years before coming here. But a lot of coaches' wives don't probably get the credit they deserve for keeping things together, do they?
Oh, I don't know if there's enough credit to give them, to be honest. My wife is she is an all-star, and she was meant to be a coach's wife. So.
It takes a special person to do that, but we'll go through the first couple of games. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to shoot one last week, so we'll start with Tulsa. And Some big moments for you guys. Stood up against a very explosive team and played them even for the first quarter and the fourth quarter. The middle part is just kind of that attrition from FCS to FBS, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Obviously, when you go into that game, they have more depth, more scholarship players. At places, they're probably going to be bigger, stronger, faster. And what you want to see is your guys come out and start fast and play hard. Play with great effort, play clean, and keep the game, close, especially early. But you do kind of know, as you mentioned, as the game progresses. You do kind of wear down. The depth begins to show its face a little bit, and they're running guys out there that full scholarship guys that are fresh-legged, and you kind of run out on our side of who to run out there. So,
has that when you come in the situation that the program's in when you inherit it? A lot of times this happens. Is depth really the biggest challenge for a staff that comes in?
At times, yes. I think every day it's just important for us to make sure that we're developing our depth. You gotta. That's our job as coaches. We can sit here and say depth's an issue, but at the same time, we've got to get guys ready to play. We'll do that. We come to work every day, and we try to split reps as evenly as possible so we can develop that second guy that might go into the game. But to say it's not an issue, especially in an FCS FBS matchup, it absolutely can be.
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not an issue, but a challenge. Yeah. One thing that people didn't do very well last year was throw at Emmanuel Brown. He had 8 pass breakups in 6 games, led the Southland Conference in that stat. He finally gets his first interception as a Demon Saturday night and takes it back to the house. Yeah. Big moment for him, big moment for your defense, because I know forcing turnovers and being able to pick up the offense at times if they're struggling is a big thing for a defense. And for E-Man to get that done, had to kind of fire everybody up on that side.
Oh, absolutely. It was a great play by him. He did a good job. Credit to our pressure. Our guys up front, they kind of flushed the quarterback out of the pocket, which kind of cut the field in half for Emmanuel. Emmanuel was actually playing our what we call our post safety at the time. They were kind of in an unbalanced set, and so when the quarterback was flushed out, he had an opportunity to get the field cut in half for him, so he could really jump that ball. When in a normal, if the quarterback's in the pocket, he can't do that. So credit to our rush, but at the end of the day, Emmanuel got down there, made a great play. To bring the ball in for one, but then get it back to the end zone and be able to put some points on the board as well.
Yeah, he may have moved him to the other side of the ball, set up his blocks pretty well, ran pretty well.
Right. No, he's a
probably
good player.
had some high school experience on the other side of the ball. It looked pretty much natural there. But we'll go a little farther into the game. Another pick six. And we're still working on the SID side of figuring out when the last time we had 2 pick sixes in the game were. I think I've gotten back to about 2010, and we haven't. So at least in about 15 years, pretty remarkable to have 2 pick sixes. But Cadillac Roan does it, his second game at a new position. 1, great job by him, but 2, for him to kind of settle in. And is that really a moment where you think the feet are on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. Cadillac's been great. We did in the spring ask him to move positions. I think it fit our scheme better with him being down around the box. What we do, he fit that better. And then also, Cadillac's a good football player, and when Cadillac's around the football, good things happen, as we saw last Saturday. So my thought process was get him down in the box where he's closer to the football, free him up a little bit to make some more plays. But he did a great job on the pick six. We were in a cover 2 look, and he just kind of dropped in the zone and sat there and spied the quarterback. And I think he did kind of reach back into his bag of skills when he was a safety to pick that ball off, because that was a really athletic play for a quarterback. For a linebacker, which in my mind when we moved him kind of gave us the best of both worlds. We knew he was physical enough to come down and play linebacker and play in the box, but now we have a really fast, athletic linebacker that kind of has some safety background. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. We saw it on that play.
Well, you mentioned quarterback. He played quarterback in high school, scored a touchdown in the state championship game here in Turpin Stadium when his team won it. So he's been in the end zone a couple of times, first time as a Demon. The thing about Cadillac, when you mentioned moving from safety to linebacker, he got the best of both worlds. He got to eat whatever he wanted to all summer long.
That's right.
Look.
I hope he's still eating it.
Some of us wish we could still do that.
Yeah.
But great moment for him. And then at the end, you got the stop there. And I think a lot of times, is it a moment of pride when teams are trying to, they're going to run the ball, they're trying to run out the clock, you've got 3 timeouts, 2 timeouts, whatever it may be. But that's got to be a point of pride, especially for a defensive line and a front 7 or front 6 in your scheme. Yeah. That was on the field a long time Saturday night.
Yeah, it is. But I believe, well, I know, our standard for how we play defense is extremely, extremely high. It's really unique, in my opinion. We don't like to give up yards. We don't like to give up first downs. That's not okay with us. And so I say all that to say that, yes, it's great to get to go out there and get that stop, get the ball back to our offense, chance to win the game. But that's kind of our job. That's what we're supposed to do. Defenses are supposed to go out and get stops. And so that just has to become our mindset that, we can be happy about that, but we also need to understand that that's our job. We're a defense. We're supposed to go out and stop offenses, and we're supposed to go get 3 and outs, and we're supposed to give the offense the ball back. That's what we do.
Talk about a couple of your linebackers for different reasons. Blake Gocher, Southland Conference Defensive Player of the Week, honorable mention, National Player of the Week.
Absolutely.
23 tackles. He has been, we talked about it with Coach McCorkle, that's pretty heady stuff. 34 tackles in 2 games, 23 in 1. And he's just come in and right away found a home here as a leader. Yeah,
he has. He's done a great job. I can't answer that question without mentioning Johnny Mitchell. If you know Big Johnny, he's playing right in front of Blake Gocher, and that's not taking anything away from Blake. But Johnny's done a phenomenal job getting down there and just muddying the offensive line up, muddying the line of scrimmage up, and making Blake's job a little bit easier. It's not easier, and Blake's a really, really good player. He's really savvy. He's really heady. He understands football, good from the neck up. But some of the success and him being able to sit back there and rack up 20 tackles a game, you got to turn your eyes to Chancellor Owens and Cam George and Johnny Mitchell for allowing him to do that. So.
Another linebacker, one you're probably familiar with, maybe the guy you're most familiar with on this roster, will go home to Mobile Thursday night. It's Landry Huddleston, a guy that came with you guys from Belhaven.
Right.
What's that relationship been like? He's a guy that you've known now for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's the one guy you can probably say maybe as a translator for some of your defense?
Yeah, Landry's awesome. Landry plays the game the right way. Every day at practice, when we get into the game and it's real, there's a certain way you're supposed to play the game and there's a certain way you're supposed to play defense. Landry has that figured out. He flies around. He has fun with it. Doesn't have bad days. But yeah, I've known Landry now for 3 years. I've actually known Landry's dad for about 15. So it goes way back. Landry's dad was a coach in Mississippi for a while. Now is a coach over in Alabama. But really, really excited for him to get to go back home and play at South Alabama. And hopefully the weather cooperates and all his family and high school friends and high school teammates can be there and watch him and cheer him on. So it's a really special moment for him.
Besides going home, when you look at South Alabama, what do you see from Major Applewhite in that team?
They're really talented. They've got a quarterback. I know Coach McCorkle mentioned it earlier. The biggest question mark is who are they going to run out there first to call the signals for them. But their starting quarterback's really, really talented. They've got a really good offensive line. They're big. They're physical. I don't think they've got a guy over there under 300 pounds. Their running backs run the ball hard, and they got 2 receivers that can really go, and you got to know where they're at. They can really get behind you. And then ultimately just the scheme. It's really unique for me. Major Applewhite's arguably one of the top 5 offensive minds in college football right now. And so it's really cool to get to sit back in the meeting room and the film room and get to prep for that. It's going to be a challenge. They know how to attack you and they know how to use your rules against you. But our guys, when that time comes, they'll be ready.
Well, Coach, your first time on the hot seat, if you want to call it
right.
that, is over. Thank you for sharing your time, especially on a very short week as we turn around and get ready to head to Mobile. Wednesday for you guys, Thursday for some of the rest of us. But when we come back, we'll be joined by offensive coordinator Norman Joseph here on the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University. New media, journalism, and communication arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/new media.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, joined now by someone who's more of a familiar face than you may think. Offensive coordinator Norman Joseph back in Natchitoches after a little bit of time away. coached here under the legendary Sam Goodwin, back for his first year under head coach Blaine McCorkle. And Coach Joseph, I think one thing we've talked about, you and I, one of the neat things is when you left here your first time, when you came back, you got your same office. Did that make it a little easier to come back?
Oh, it was great walking in, recognizing all the landscape in there. It was really neat, and of course overlooks the stadium, overlooks the field, and have a great view.
Was the office the same as you left? Did people take care of your office for the last little bit of time you were gone?
It's been very well taken care of, and I think there's probably a few new coats of paint on it. Furniture is different, but and all the office setup is different. Obviously, back when I was here before, it had no computers, so now the office is full of computers.
Well, Coach, let's get off of office decor and furniture and technology, and let's talk a couple of football games. Starting with Tulsa, and I don't think as an offense coordinator, unless you're simply looking to chew clock, that you could have had a better start the first two games than a second play touchdown and a first play touchdown. Let's go back to Tulsa. Kenneth Lacey's 75-yard touchdown run on the second play for scrimmage. Could you have guessed that was going to happen at any point?
Not at all. We felt like Tulsa's defense was going to be much better than what we had seen on film from the year before. They helped themselves with a lot of good players, new players coming in. The portals had helped them quite a bit, and so we knew it was going to be quite a challenge. But to open up and score on the second play, it was a great run by Ken. It was also an outstanding job up front by our offensive line, and then he broke it, hit the boundary, and he's got great speed, and he was gone and in the end zone before we knew it.
Yeah, you look at him, he also had a 45-yard touchdown run Saturday night in the home opener, and that's now his third touchdown run of 45 yards or more in his career. So it kind of, I don't think you look at him necessarily as a breakaway guy, but clearly it's there.
But he can do that, and he's got great hands. He's a good receiver coming out of the backfield as well. And but there's two. I mean, here we are in the first two ball games. He's had two long runs and set the stage for us to set up for a good rushing attack throughout the season.
But it's not just him in the backfield. Zay Davis has shown flashes. You've got some guys back there. It isn't just going to be on Kenneth Lacey. You have some guys you can trust aside from him.
Yes, we feel good about our running back room. Very talented, great athletes, great personalities as well. They are very determined to play well. But they will also want to be the total player. And so instead of just being a running back, they're great receivers, they're great blockers, they're great team players. They do a great job of carrying out fakes on play action passes. And so they've been well coached. Mo Stewart's done a great job with them, and just real proud of that room and the progress we've made since last spring to where we are right now.
Kenneth Lacey is one of those guys that's been here for a while. We talked about Zay Davis, Ray McNeely Harris, the freshman. Transferred in from Memphis. So those two guys are new. How has Kenneth, especially looking at his relationship with Ray, how has that been a mentorship, and has he taken to that?
You know, that's a really great point. You watch Ken practice, and he's positive, he's upbeat. He sets the tone. He sets the example, and he is very positive around the young and the new. You know, I consider Xavier one of the new guys. He's not necessarily young, but he's new, and so they look to him for guidance and direction. He's the role model. He sets the standard, and but at the same time, he is very giving as a team player and sharing coaching points.
It's got to be about the same on the offensive line, a guy like Stevie Ballard. I know Coach and I talked about him last week, but a fifth-year senior, a guy that's going for his master's degree, and he's kind of had to shepherd a lot of new faces in that offensive line room as well, whether they're young or new, as you said. I mean, coming out, you had 4 first-time starters in week 1. Stevie had started. He didn't start a game last year, but he had started previously. So another one of those older guys that's kind of had to take that leadership role.
And we're proud of him. And what a great job he does. Every day he shows up for work. One of Coach McCorkle's rules is don't get hurt, and so Stevie has shown up every day, whether he's banged up or fresh or feels good. He shows up and works, and once again, another great example for the other offensive linemen, for the rest of the players on the offense, and what great leadership he gives, not only as a team player, but from a spiritual standpoint as well. One of the finest young men I've ever met.
Well, as we go into talking about Prairie View, and we'll talk about that last drive a little bit more, but let's talk about the first play. We talked with Coach McCorkle. He said it came to him in March. So you guys knew for 6-7 months what play you were going to run to start the game against Prairie View, but to see it executed, and Coach got a little emotional talking about Miles Kitt-Denton Saturday night after the game and the things that were said that he couldn't do, and he couldn't do X and he couldn't do Y, not the wide receiver spots. But he couldn't do this or he couldn't do that, and he went out and proved people wrong. And that had to be a special moment to see. And you've got a great view, by the way, to see anything develop up there in the box. What did you see on that play, and how special was it for it to be Miles to make that play?
If you go back to our summer, and I had, when Miles scored, Carson Stewart, our wide receiver coach, he was just saying, "Congratulations, coach. Great job, great job." And I said, it's all the work from the summer. These guys worked all summer long, just did a tremendous job, hours and hours and hours, and sometimes 2 and 3 times a day out there. We had a football camp one evening, and it finished around 8 o'clock. The receivers showed up, and so did JT Fayard, our quarterback. So we had 2 or 3 receivers, had JT out there, and this is on a Saturday night, 8:30, and they're throwing under the lights. It was amazing. So that kind of work is what has propelled us to have a strong passing game, and it's going to get stronger because of what these guys do. And then to see Miles play and just go get the football. JT laid it out there. I told him, do not underthrow him. I said, lay it out there. He's going to go get it. And sure enough, he did. And what a beautiful play, and what a great way to start the ball game.
And he's quite a weapon out there. Started that last drive, first play through Adam, got the pass interference call, really started the drive in motion. But the grab over the middle, the 18-yarder at the end, speaking of going in, taking the ball away, he pretty much ripped it away from the defender and put you in position. And speaking of catches, I don't think we can undersell what Twan Hines did on what was the final timed play of that game. But those two guys, Twan being a senior, Miles being a veteran guy, making plays. They didn't have the years they wanted to last year, I'm sure, but they've come out and delivered in the early going.
The future looks bright. Both of these guys playing hard. They once again worked all summer long. They have prepared themselves. During the spring, we were kind of hit and miss, but we were learning. Coaching staff was trying to find out who could play, and they're trying to find out, what do I do on the next call? And there were days out there we couldn't find a 50-yard line. So we made a transition. Our progress has been very positive, and I know the future, which lies ahead, is going to be great for us.
Well, the immediate future is a quick turnaround. And what is the biggest challenge when you go from a Saturday game to a Thursday game? Season opener on Thursday, you've got 3-4 months to get ready for that. Obviously, about 2 weeks of prep. But in this, it's condensing 7 days into 5, and then turning around physically. But what about the mental side of it? What's the biggest challenge mentally to go on a quick turnaround?
Well, I think from a mental standpoint is getting over the last ball game. We got to put that behind us. And there's an old rule, and I know we've said it and you've heard it, the 24-hour rule. Once that is over, the game is over, you got 24 hours to enjoy it or put it off. And so now, I felt like our guys yesterday, once we started looking at South Alabama, the game was over. Now if we hadn't had a game, they'd still be thinking about it. But once we settled in and realized, okay, we got to get ready. We got a short period of time here to get prepared. Let's put that one behind us. Let's move forward. And I felt like our guys did a good job with that yesterday.
When you do look at South Alabama, they've kind of been in a couple of shootouts a little bit. Gave up 52 points in week 1 to North Texas. Lost a tough one at Ohio in week 2. What do you see, from them defensively, just generically, without giving too much away?
They're very solid, and they're utilizing the same scheme they did a year ago when their defensive coordinator was there. Our head coach was there, now gone to Alabama, but Will Wyndham is their defensive coordinator, and I've got a connection with Will. He and I, from a family, his grandfather-in-law was my college head coach, and so Bob Tyler was my coach, and so Will is married to Coach Tyler's granddaughter, and it's. I've watched him. He's done a tremendous job through the years, starting out as a graduate assistant, working his way up to position coach and now coordinator, and good solid background. He's been with some good folks. We know it's going to be a real challenge, and look forward to that challenge.
A lot of people going back to Mobile. It seems like every time I think of this, something else pops in my head. Cade Camp, your offensive line coach, was a GA at South Alabama. Landry Huddleston's from Mobile. Chance Newman's from right across the bay in Daphne. You've got some ties to Mobile too, if I'm not mistaken. And tell me if my memory's right or wrong there.
You are right. You are correct. And a matter of fact, I was head football coach at McGill-Tulane Catholic High School there, and was there for 2 years. Great folks. Enjoyed coaching those young men and being around those families. And then had an opportunity to move on, and this was. Now it's getting a chance to go back to the Mobile area, and hopefully the weather will be good and we'll get to see some of those folks will be at the ball game.
And McGill-Tulane's got a pretty good reputation within Alabama football, doesn't it?
It is the second oldest school in the state, and so because of that, the football has been real big in Alabama anyway, big in Mobile, big at McGill-Tulane, and have had a lot of success there in that program.
Yeah, slightly football-obsessed state Alabama is. Well, Coach Joseph, thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for watching out there. Week 1 of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial is in the books. We'll see you next week, right here on YouTube.